Travis Kelce, still no news on if he stays or if he goes. We have heard reports that Patrick Mahomes will be dancing at his wedding.
About 4 times.
We've heard a lot, as if that affects the football team. It's like, well, he was dancing.
Right.
Here's Andy Reid.
As long as there's communication, I'm good. That means people want to move forward, and I think that's where Trav is. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth at all, and I try to give him some space here. He's been doing this a long time, and he can sort all that out as he goes forward. But we're proceeding with that, and there is communication going on.
So here's the thing, Nick, and I know you know this, but it feels like a narrative run wild. For Travis Kelce, he did not have a good year. For a tight end in the National Football League, you would take those numbers from anybody else. He's almost penalized for being Travis Kelce. So do you think he helps the Chiefs offense? I feel like it's kind of an obvious question.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm glad. I think it's an obvious question for our show, but I'm glad we're doing the topic for the exact point that you made, KW, which is allow me to mix metaphors a bit, Brew, and invoke. And again, Kelce is not Michael Jordan. He might be the Michael Jordan of tight ends, but he's follow me here. There is an element of Michael Jordan as a wizard to Kelce last year in particular with the Chiefs, where he is so far removed from his own personal height that the general public thinks he is worse when you're stacking up players at his position than he actually is. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
He is still pretty clearly one of the 5 best tight ends in football. Now, will he be at 37? He was at 36. And so here, just a couple quick numbers before I give it to you, Brew. In the last decade, there have been 3 seasons of a 35-plus-year-old to have 800 or more yards. Travis Kelce last year, Travis Kelce the year before, and 1 Larry Fitzgerald season. Now, when you make it a 37-year-old, that has only happened 7 times, by 7 guys ever, I should say. But the last one was Tony Gonzalez. Same position, and a guy who obviously was a Falcon at the time, but played with the Chiefs for a long time. By the way, Jerry Rice.
We hit our, I'm sorry, but we hit our,
wow.
We can only talk about the Chiefs for a certain amount per hour in between the over-under and the Travis Kelce story. That we hit our maximum Chiefs talk.
Wow.
We spilled a lot of ink about the tush push man and went into last year thinking that this was the swan song for the play that would surely go away. Not true. NFL Competition Committee co-chair Rich McKay telling Mike Reese and Kevin Seifert that no team has proposed the ban, so he doesn't see it being addressed. Now, according to ESPN, Nick, the conversion rate dropped from 77% last year down from 82% when we were at the peak of tush push complaining. Are you surprised that this ban has no steam?
Well, I still think it's going to get banned.
Oh, you do?
With respect to Richmond, yeah, just not right now. So if you remember last year, at the first iteration, they decided they decided not to vote on it because they didn't have enough votes. So they tabled it until later in the offseason, and then they brought it, and they almost got it passed, or almost got it banned, I should say. I think if the commissioner didn't like it before, and now you had on a lot of the most high-profile games of the year, the announcing crew and, our officiating experts commiserating about not that it's an unfair advantage for Philadelphia, not my complaint, which is it is aesthetically displeasing, but that you can't officiate it properly.
Yeah.
I don't think it has staying power, and the fact that the team that was the biggest proponent of it, obviously, Philadelphia, it stopped. I don't know how tied they are to it because it wasn't that effective for them. So, if you look at their numbers on QB sneaks the previous 3 years to last year, And it's a little misleading when it says 8th best, because one of the reasons that it doesn't say, first best is because they would sometimes do a tush push to set up a tush push.
Yeah.
It'd be 3rd and 2, and they would do it not even necessarily thinking they've got to get it, knowing they could get it on the next play. And so I just think the issues with the false starts, Brew, and then the later issue of, was that a fumble? Was his progress dead? Was it not? Is enough that I still think that come next season, it is not going to be a part of our football lives.
Yeah, look, I'm not as confident as you. I don't really care one way or the other. I think the reason for me to ban it is not because of the Eagles' dominance in it. I don't like that idea. It's obviously, it looks like it'd be a safety, risk, but it's not.
Yep.
The reason, though, to ban it for me is it's tough to officiate. And I do think as the season went on, they got better at officiating it. You even saw the Eagles called for some false starts, as the season went on. I think that's the reason they weren't as dominant in it. So, the Eagles, I think with their offensive line not being as good last year, Jalen Hurts just getting a little bit older, and then the officiating of it where sometimes those were false starts, I think that lessened the impact for them. And now teams aren't that concerned about it. It does, to me, Nick, show that the concern was they're too dominant. They're too good at it.
Yes.
We can't stop them from doing it, so we want to ban it. And now that this year they weren't that good at it, nobody seems to care. So we'll see what happens.
Can I ask you one question, Nick? And I know you mentioned Troy was very big and just kind of loud about it being hard to officiate. Remember, he was like, I don't know what to do. And I think the rules analyst was like, I don't know. And it felt like that was a real sort of moment in the sand. Recency bias-wise, remember not that you remember my tweets, but I was like, Patriots 4th and 1, Vrabel is punting.
I have them all cataloged.
Thank you. Vrabel's punting on 4th and 1.
Buddy.
And I'm like, what are you doing? You got to go for it. But it's in the Super Bowl, does not go for it. AFC Championship game, Sean Payton decides to go for a 4th and 1, but doesn't do the tush push. They don't get it, and it turns the game. So it's kind of two somewhat big 4th and 1s that teams didn't even go for the tush push. Do you think that serves as a counterbalance for Troy's momentum to get it banned?
No, I don't. No, here's the thing. It is, to me, less about whether or not, one team is great at it, and more about there is my own issue that you guys don't agree with me on, which is totally fine, which is I just think it takes what had been a super exciting moment in a football game. Oh, man, are they going to get this or are they not? And turns it into a rugby scrum that sometimes it's very clear they got it, and sometimes it feels like, well, this is just going to come down to a referee,
Random
is he
spot.
looking, left eye or right eye on it, and it left something to be desired. But the other piece of it that I think is kind of interesting, not to avoid your question, KW, and this is one of the reasons I hope it does come up for vote, is I wonder how Philly would vote on it. Because Jalen Hurts, to me, the most interesting thing to come out of any tush-push commentary was the Amazon broadcast with Al Michaels and Herb Street. When Al Michaels, because he's Al Michaels and he can do what he wants, maybe revealed a little too much. And he was like, I think Jalen Hurts would vote against this thing. And as right now, where the Eagles are, where Sirianni to me is, less entrenched in power than he once was, is Jalen Hurts the most powerful person within that, football team? And does he like this play? Because he seems not to. And if the Eagles didn't care about it, then I guess maybe the Bills like it. But the Bills can get it, 4th down a bunch of different ways. So I just don't, even if it doesn't get banned, Brew, I think we are on the backside of the crest of the tush push being a huge part of our football lives.
I would say this, and I've always agreed with you that if it became too commonplace as far as teams doing it 5-6 times a game,
Yep.
that would be a problem. But if I were a head coach of an NFL team, I would have a special time of practice every day carved out for the tush push.
Yes.
I would become excellent at it. And even if it wasn't my quarterback, Nick, like in Philly, put the tight end in there like some other teams do, or a fullback or something like that, and let him bear the brunt of it. But I would get good at, because as you said, Wiles, Nick, in that Super Bowl, if New England was really good at the tush push, you can go for some of those 4th and 1s. And so I do think as long as it's a rule, teams should get as good as they can at it to use it for their advantage.
So, KW, that point Brew just made, to me, is maybe the best evidence as to why the league should just get rid of it. Because Brew is correct, I agree with him, that since it's allowed, teams should spend real, and it's limited, practice time that you have in perfecting this dumb rugby play. And so wouldn't like the general watchability of football be better if that practice time was spent doing literally anything else? If that was, hey, this is when we're working on our sick laterals on 4th down that have all of a sudden started to be done. Like just from a what? So I agree with Brew that it is smart, but that's
if every team was doing it, right? If every team was doing it on 4th and 1, it would be a little boring, and they making it 85% of the time.
Which you're suggesting that would be smart. That's what teams should like. Right now, they're incentivized to become experts at it. That would suck. Like just flatly, and now that the Eagles aren't good
just for the record, let's not say, it's not splitting the atom. Just push.
It is
I
tough.
say hike, and then you push me.
It's tough to do, though.
It's not that
Only
tough.
Philly's been great
just
at
push me.
It's
push me as hard as you
tougher
can.
than it looks.
It's not that
It looks barbaric, but it's tough.
If I were there, I'd go push him.
Push me as hard as you can. All right, from a play that works too often to one that might not work enough. Doesn't look like onside kicks are coming back. Recoveries dropped to under 10%. And when they do work, like Bears-Packers, it can lead to all-time comebacks. But it's a safety issue, and we wanted to kick around an alternative. A few years ago, the Eagles surfaced an idea of a 4th and 20 from their own 20 instead of an onside kick. So, Nick, do you buy this, that a 4th and 20 should be kicked around as an alternative to an onside kick?
So I believe that at some point, God willing, this show keeps going, and there's no reason it wouldn't, we're going to have a topic, do you like this new rule change? I think this rule change is happening in the next 5 years. Where they do I don't know if it's 4th and 20 or 4th and 15 or 4th and 17, whatever it is. And here's the thing that to me, Brew, is so interesting about it. It actually, if you look at the numbers the last 5 years, onside kick percentage, 4th and 15 conversion, 4th and 20 conversion. It's not hugely different. 4th and 20 is not that much more successful than the new onside kick, but man, oh man, it would feel like it was.
Oh, yeah.
It would feel like, we just got, we can do it. And so I just think, again, I wouldn't want it ever to become a 1 in 3 chance, like super easy. Because then the end of games would feel too arbitrary, and building a big lead early would feel less meaningful.
Right.
I would still want it to be very difficult, but I also would I think it's cooler if it is your best players deciding your 1 in 10 shot rather than whether or not your kicker has worked on these little trick shots that now you have to do for onside kick recoveries.
Yeah, look, it would be exciting. By your numbers, Nick, maybe it should be 4th and 17 or something like that. With the numbers that were in that graphic. It would be exciting. It just feels too gimmicky to me.
It does.
It feels too gimmicky. And call me old school, call me barbaric, call me a caveman. Maybe go back to the old kickoff. I mean, go back to the old kickoff. They played that way for 95 years or whatever it was. I go back to that. And then the onside
But I
kick could
like
be
the
a
new
surprise.
The new kickoff I kind of like.
But you can't keep the new kickoff and have an onside kick.
That's the problem.
You just can't do it.
I love this. I would rubber stamp this immediately.
4th and 20 or 4th
20.
and 17, whatever.
I think it would just be very interesting. The problem is, Nick, I don't know how you test it. Do you do it in preseason? Like, baseball did these rules, and they did a little bit in AAA. Yeah. They did a little bit in spring training last year. So they get a chance to work out the kinks. You want to try it in preseason, but then guys aren't really trying stuff they don't want to reveal.
Doesn't it feel like a gimmick, though?
I know, but I want to try it, but I just don't want to be committed to it. For the whole year.
But this is Brew. I guess my argument against it being a gimmick is the only reason the current onside kick is not considered a total absurdity is because we're used to it.
Yeah.
It would, like, if football was being invented and they were like, hey, there's a way to steal an extra possession. Yeah. It's like, oh, what do you do? It's like, well, if the guy kicks the ball, it's got to go at least 10 yards, and then you can grab it and be like, that makes no sense.
You bounce it off another guy.
So, like, you peg it. So, KW, I'd be fine. I agree with you. I just think it's a cooler, more fun, more exciting, but keeps the fairness of a 10-point lead with 2 minutes left should be almost bulletproof. Not totally bulletproof, but almost bulletproof. But now it feels like your best guys have a chance to, steal a win.
I'll tell you what, Caleb Williams would be like, let's do it. Let's do this every play. I'll be good to go. He would complete like 75% of these things. Head out to L.A., where the Celtics dismantled the Lakers and might be getting Tatum back. Missoula was asked about Tatum being at practice. And here was his response. Take a listen.
A maniac.
He was at practice.
Did he participate in any of it?
You don't want to talk about Jayson. When we asked you yesterday, you said you didn't know because you know what the practice plan was. Russ is uninterested in the situation.
I think you guys asked him if he had practice with the team, and he said no.
Okay, I did not realize that. That clip was going around and you could not hear the national anthem. I thought it was Missoula just kind of stonewalling the reporter. He didn't want to talk over the national anthem.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's my take on it, because then he starts after the national anthem. I couldn't hear it initially.
You now, Wildes.
I thought he was stonewalling
you.
I did
He was trying
too.
to be respectful to the anthem.
Oh.
Yes, I didn't realize that, and we built this whole question around this. So I think we have this wrong. That being said, what do you think Tatum's plan should be?
Well, look, I said it earlier. I feel strongly about this. The decision has to be left up to the doctors, the Celtics doctors, and then Jayson Tatum's if he has his own doctors, right? And him. If the doctors are like, he's fine, all right, medicines improve, whatever treatments improve, he's ready to play. He's under no extra risk. And Jayson Tatum wants to come back and play, I think you have to let him play, because if you don't, now you really could offend your best player, all right, your superstar. I would kind of have an issue with it if it was right before the playoffs. Like if it was a week before the playoffs or a couple, or for the playoffs, that would seem like a tough adjustment for them going right into the playoffs.
That would be weird. Like, I'm ready to go.
I will say this. I don't think they can win the East. As well as they've played, I don't think they can win the East without Tatum.
Correct.
So
correct.
Even at that situation, you just bring him back and let it go. And I think for him, I really do. He's a human being. I would feel it. We all would feel it. I think there might be a fear. What if they did win the East, or maybe win the championship without him? Like that. I don't think they could do it. But that has to be. That's a fear that nobody just wants to see that happen. The individual.
I think I think there's a different psychological piece that potentially is at play here. But first, I think if he comes back, I do not believe it would be right before the playoffs. I think that if you look at the Celtics schedule, they have a homestand in early March and one in mid-March. I've got to imagine his first game back would be a home game. I would think that if he's going to come back, it will be in the next month.
If that can happen, great.
He would have time to, right, and he would have time to ramp up for the playoffs. Like I think it's on the board. He's back in 2 weeks. I really do, and I agree with you entirely, Brew, that they can't win the championship as presently constituted. As great, we talked about Jaylen Brown being an MVP candidate, as great as the story of the season has been. But here is where I really legitimately feel terribly for Tatum. There are so many paths where he gets unfairly criticized in this. Because we believe they can't win the title without him, but they're the 2 seed, and it is what it is. And the odds are, for any team, the Thunder, for the Nuggets, for anybody, the odds are you don't win the title this year. And if he comes back and they don't win the title, there will be some people that be like, man, maybe he should have just sat out. If he comes back, and the way I think it's almost a guarantee that there's a ramp-up period before he looks like old Jayson Tatum,
yes.
People will pick at that. Did he come back too early? And the other thing is this. If he does not come back at all, and they don't win the title, there will be people that be like, man, why didn't he come back? We were talking about it. We thought he was going to. I can almost see the narrative criticisms, that train coming down the tracks. And it's like, so the only way he can avoid that is he comes back by the playoffs is excellent. They make the finals. And then, by the way, even there, by the time you get to the finals, like, hey, remember, Jayson Tatum, not a finals MVP, didn't win that last time. Like, there's just a lot of unfair. KW, and I hope I'm not speaking this into existence, but it feels like all of that is out there for landmines for him when he's trying to have a very quick turnaround from a devastating injury.
As the editor of Hobble Watch, bro, I am not a doctor at all. And I have just Googled Achilles injuries just like every other sports fan. But I have a unique take, and I'm 100% right about it. An Achilles injury is a 2-year injury. You can play after 1 year, like we saw with Aaron Rodgers, but you're not going to be good. You're going to be good in 2 years, like we saw with Kevin Durant. Durant was 550 days off. Tatum today is at 290. If he was on Durant's timeline, it's November 15th. And on November 15th, he'll look like Jayson Tatum. In March, he's not going to look like Jayson Tatum. And it's going to screw everything up. And it might screw up your whole career. The smart thing to do is, who's been the most successful recent Achilles injury? It was Durant. He was out for 550 days. And he came back, and he's still Kevin Durant. The risk of coming back, I think, is... I understand it. I get it. You want to play. But, man, it's a 2-year injury. Sit out. See you in November.
I think that's smart, but that's a different question. We were talking about, should the Celtics bring him back? If he wants to come back and the doctors clear him, I think you got to let him come back. But I agree with you. If you're him, the best thing probably is to sit. And I don't think they're going to win it. And I hate to act like he should be sitting there cheering against them. He shouldn't be. But I think he should just wait till next season. They'll have a decent playoff run and then come back ready to go next year at full speed.
KW, can I ask you a question on that real quick?
Yeah.
Because you are mentioning instances of players coming back and not being themselves, but it's not like they come back and then suffer a different catastrophic injury because they came back, right?
Yeah.
So like if the doctors clear him, I do feel like there is an element of, if he is able to personally, and this would be very difficult, to set aside the athletic ego of I'm not going to be All-NBA MVP candidate Jayson Tatum, but I am going to be helpful to my team, and maybe we win. Because, Brew, do you agree with me that the Celtics with a 75% Jayson Tatum can absolutely win the East? Because I think that. I don't think Tatum has to. I think
Like
he
if
could
he's
be
their second best
like
player.
What you're, yes.
Yeah.
So if you're,
They'd have
to
a
your
good shot.
point, KW, like if he comes back and is Rodgers is older, so it's the bad example, not apples to apples, but a lesser version of himself. I still think that might be enough to get the Celtics through the East, and then who the hell knows what happens in a finals?
Yeah, I mean,
and so like that is.
I do think too.
He is.
They got
Go ahead.
Pritchard coming off the bench now. He's their second leading scorer.
cooking.
But I think that's set up. Like if Pritchard is coming off the bench, that sets it up for Tatum to start. And it's not as much of a disruption because your second leading scorer right now, Pritchard, is not in the starting lineup. So that means that could be.
So he's not starting. So you start him, but how much is he playing?
Oh, he's going to play a lot. He's going to play his normal minutes. But,
You think?
Pritchard?
No. I'm saying
Tatum?
starts. If you have a starter playing 17 minutes.
No. He's playing close to.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.